right, man. You ready, bro?
What's going on? I'm excited. Let's go.
Oh yeah, man. Do you want anything to drink?
Do you have like a coffee, iced coffee maybe? Oh, perfect. Half drink, and that's even better.
Half a drink.
Someone broke it in for me.
Do you want water too?
I'll have water as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Well, it looks like I should have had some champagne in here, but I've been drinking for the last 2 days, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna do this sober today.
Yeah, no, I need a little bit of a break. I think
These were the only glasses they had, so I just thought it would fit the style.
it'd be a classy water.
It'd be a classy water. Yeah. All right, so welcome guys to the Mariah Show. Another episode today, together with David Las Morenas. Did I say it right? Las Morenas. Las Morenas.
De las Morenas.
De Las Morenas.
Yes, there you go.
Awesome, man. So he's also known as How to Beast. We've known each other for many years right now. David is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and a YouTuber. Last time we met, last time we made a video, you were talking about hitting 1 million subscribers. Back then, you had this was during COVID actually. Back then, you had 700K, and now you're at what, 1.3?
I think 1.1 is some change.
Okay. Well, at least it's a lot more than 1 million, right? So that's amazing, man. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So glad to have you on the podcast, bro. So we've really connected over the last few years. We've only seen each other once before this in real life.
Yeah, this was back before COVID.
It was.
It must have been 2019, probably 2019.
Yeah. 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I feel like I see you every week though, because we watch the youth videos, connect on Instagram. That's quite funny how that goes, right?
Yeah, no. Once you meet someone once, I feel like it's the connection can be locked in, and then it can be maintained.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
So now we're back. So tell us a little bit about your background, and I want to know specifically, not to make it necessarily since childhood or something, but since you started studying, because we shared the story last time on YouTube as well. Going from studying to eventually starting YouTube and your own businesses, what was that journey like?
Yeah, so when I was studying in college, I didn't really there wasn't something I know I want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever. I didn't really know. Growing up though, I liked computers. I liked playing video games. I built computers in high school. So
which video games?
I did a lot, Call of Duty. Before that, Counter-Strike, SOCOM. I was shooting games, but
not like RuneScape or anything.
I've played, but very, very briefly.
Okay,
yeah. You're a big RuneScape guy?
Yeah, yes. I thought maybe you were the same, but you're a couple years older as well. Anyway,
you're 27?
Yeah, 27.
So 5 years. 5 years difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, go ahead.
So because of that, I did computer science, studied computer science in college. My first job out of college was as a software engineer.
Yeah.
And I did that for about a year, but I hated it, man. I didn't like being behind a desk. I would just look forward to working out after work, because that's what I was starting to really get into. Those first few years you lift, it's
man.
The pre-workout hits and you're in heaven or something, man.
What age was that?
So that must have been you're at 22 years old, I'd say 22.
You got into lifting pretty late then.
Right. Yeah, I started lifting my
for
last year of college. So 21 is really when I started lifting. And after that, I quit that job after a year and became a personal trainer, because my cousin had gotten his training certification. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love working out. I got my training certification. So I worked for a gym in Boston, built up a little personal training business. But then, I think a lot of people who've been trainers know this. You get burnt out. You don't really like being at the gym. You're there all day. Clients aren't showing up. You're grinding your ass off and still not making that much money. So then I switched back to doing this balance of personal training, but in the mornings I would work for the software company, the same company, because they still wanted me to work there. So I'd have a laptop working from home. Before, working from home was a big thing. I'd do that, go into the gym, and then in the morning, earlier at night, I started I wanted to get into some type of entrepreneurship. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started howtobeast.com. This must have been,
but how did you go from just thinking about something to coming up with that name? And
well, I guess at the time I was getting more into self-improvement. I was reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of audiobooks. Some of them were dating advice books back in the day.
Neil Strauss.
Yeah. There's David Data, Rollo Tomasi, a lot of these early authors.
And which entrepreneurs did you read?
So it was I listened to a lot of Tony Robbins.
Sick. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that I listened to or read. I was just reading books every week, every day, just absorbing as much as I could. So I think that's what got me on the path of like, well, let me start a blog. And it was kind of like an experiment in like designing my own website, but at the same time, I was like, well, what am I going to write about? And I was writing about like the lessons. I was trying to, I didn't have that much life experience, but I was trying to share like the lessons I was learning from these other guys, right? And then putting it on paper. And that was maybe 2014, 2015. So I did that blog a couple of years. I built up the email. Like at the time, it was all about like, you got to have your like free download. You got to get people's email.
Right on, man.
And then if you sell a course or something, you got to hit them up with like the 3 to 5 email sequence.
Yeah.
I forget. It was like gain, logic, fear. That was like the old school like 3 email sequence. The first one you focus on like the benefits. The second one you focus on the logic. The last one it's like this is about to close. Your last chance.
Did that work? Like, or how long did that take?
Well, that's back when like people really opened up all their emails, right?
Yeah.
But now everyone's inbox is spammed, and I don't think it has for businesses. I'm not saying it's useless. I still use it with Edge and whatnot, but I don't think it's the same power that it used to be.
Not the same power, no. Yeah. You gotta focus on the high open rates, but then again, like back in the day, not like there was also less competition, right? So
well, then Google implemented like the promotions tab, I think, and I think that's when like it really. Everyone's on Gmail, so whenever they change something, I know they changed something a few more months ago that made it even easier to go to spam. But whenever they change something, it always messes up the email game.
So so you wrote these blogs, and then what started happening?
Well, the first way I monetized was through, I know you've done this too, was through self-publishing on Amazon. And this was like early on, there wasn't as much competition. So I started to realize, you self-publish a book on Amazon and you get a bunch of friends or like my blog followers at the time. Hey, for the first 48 hours, the book's completely free. So you get like, I don't know, quick 500,000 downloads. And then you hit them up with some emails. Hey, if you enjoyed the book, can you please drop a review on Amazon? They're going to show up as verified reviewers because they download through Amazon. Exactly. And then I'd up the price to like $9.99 because as long as it's like from $2.99 to $9.99, I don't know if it's the same, but it gave you like the optimal, like 70% share. They took a less commission, but now it would get boosted to the top of like Men's Health. I always targeted Men's Health. So I'd always be like top 10 Men's Health books because it had a high volume of download in 2 days. And then it would have like 30 reviews. And then I realized Amazon now I think it's the second biggest search engine aside from Google.
Yeah.
So like I started getting all this organic sales. And that was like my first online hustle, I guess, was doing that.
Yeah. So you like the first thing was become a best-selling author.
Yeah.
And then later on you started YouTube actually, like afterwards.
Yeah, because I did that kind of balance of like blogging, releasing the books. I released some like confidence courses or fitness courses, like PDFs through myself. But then it got to a point where it was like 3 years in a row. I was maybe just like breaking even.
Okay.
I didn't have that big a following. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was making enough to like pay the bills.
You were still doing a software thing as well? Or
no,
you quit that.
So I quit that. It was at one point after maybe a couple of years after, let's say 3 years after I started training, I moved to Spain with my buddy Dave. And at that point I quit the software job. I quit the personal training. And at that point I was like, I'm on my own now. And that's when like the momentum didn't carry on as I hoped it would. So then I was in Spain for a year. I got back to the States, and this must have been 2017. It was like this make or break moment where I was like,
you actually got a setback too then later.
Yeah, it was 2017. I'd uploaded a couple of YouTube videos, but it was me like reading blog posts essentially. It wasn't like anything. It was a stand in front of the camera. But I was at this crossroads where I was like, this momentum isn't going where I want it to. Do I just go back to working software jobs? And I actually applied to a few software jobs in Boston, and like, thank God, bro, they didn't hit me back up.
Wow.
Because that's when I decided, YouTube's something I've been avoiding because it's very intimidating at first trying to get on YouTube. It seems like technical and you got to be on camera. I was like, I'm going to do YouTube for a year. I'm going to focus on just building an audience because my audience isn't big enough to really to monetize to any significant degree. I'm not going to sell any courses. I'm not going to sell any books. I have enough savings that I can make this work for a year.
Okay. And
that's when I committed to the 2 YouTube videos per week, which was like the most important decision in my life. That's what got me to where I am today.
Awesome, man. Did you make like a calculated, tracking your finances to see like, can I sustain this for a year and then I would have to find something again?
Yeah, I mean, or
was it just a feeling that you had? Like,
it was a feeling. I know I didn't like calculate down to the dollar, but I was living very frugally, man. I was in an apartment in downtown Boston that maybe was like $1,000 a month. This is a long time before like prices of everything has just gone like through the roof. But I would get the cheapest groceries. I'd eat the cheapest meals. I wouldn't go. I wasn't buying any clothes. I wasn't partying at all. I was kind of just locked in on YouTube that year.
Yeah, man. And then what happened when you started YouTube?
So 2 videos a week.
Since the beginning.
Yeah, since the very beginning. I haven't missed a single video since January 2017. That's when it started, man.
Yeah, I actually know you have never missed a video. That's crazy. I dedicated myself in the beginning 3 times a week as well. But I did that for like 2 years, I'd say. Then it started changing a little bit for me. But like you actually kept like doing the exact same thing.
Well, it's been the one thing that I focused on that this was about halfway, maybe 2/3. It was like August. So like 8 months into the year, there was this point where I remember me and Julia, I started dating Julia right at like the same time. I met her right at the end of 2016. So it's kind of funny. Really? It linked up right when YouTube started. I remember we were on this trip to Toronto and all these videos that they weren't new videos. They're videos I published over the last like 4 or 5 months. There was like 2 or 3 of them where I was in Boston approaching girls. And they all started getting a bunch of views. I was like, man, we got 1,000 subscribers yesterday. Wait, we got 1,000 subscribers again today. Wait, we got another 1,000. And that's when it was like, you know what? A light bulb went off in my head. I was like, I've never seen this type of reaction from anything I've done. I'm just going to double, triple down, put all of my effort. Let's upgrade the camera gear now. Let's really see what we can do with these videos. And that was really when it was like the commitment was made.
Sick, man. Like, how was that in the beginning though? Like starting YouTube, I remember for me it was so difficult. Like I had the idea for like many months. It took me many months to like one day be like fuck it, today I'm gonna start. How was that for you? Was it one day or was it a build up or?
Well, I bought that camera, the Sony RX100, and it was like $1,000. And at the time, that was a huge investment for me. Yeah. I was scared. I remember I hit the purchase button. I was like, am I gonna go broke now? Like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
So I think like that's what lit the fire in my belly to be like, we're doing this now.
Okay, good.
Sometimes you gotta put something on the line, you gotta put something on the line.
How did you get your first like views or first people watching? Maybe through your blog or?
Yeah, so I think that was like not that was like a huge following. I think it was like 7,000 on the email list. But now if I publish a YouTube video and blast out the email list, maybe you're not gonna get a lot, maybe I'd get 200 or 300 views just because those people, some of them would click over. But as
you would refresh a couple times yourself.
Yeah. So you leave it playing on loop. You leave it playing on loop.
Yeah, right.
But that was enough that I think I wasn't like demoralized that nobody's watching the videos. There'd at least be a few comments on each video.
Okay.
And you remember the early days, each comment meant like the world to me, man.
Oh man, like I remember the day that I got like 7 comments. I was like, wow, like 7 people, for me it was really cool because it was people from different countries too, and not just like from the Netherlands where I'm from. And so I was like, wait, people in America can watch my videos?
Were your first videos in Dutch or English?
No, always English, man. Okay. I only started like switching to Dutch a little bit, like maybe 2 years ago. And now I switched back 100% to English. Started doing this podcast in English too. I did it in Dutch for a while and I just miss it, man.
We need a translator here.
Yeah, like a translator, right? Yeah. Awesome, man. And so like after how long did it start taking off, you would say, like YouTube? And how did you then like transition into like starting your businesses?
Well, I didn't even think for the first 2017, probably for the first 2 years, I didn't think about business. I lived and breathed YouTube. The only thing in my head was like, what's the next YouTube video going to be? What's the one after that going to be?
Right on, man.
And I think the end of 2018, so almost 2 years is when technically we dropped Edge, the clothing line. And that wasn't too long after you dropped your clothing line.
True. Yeah.
So that definitely gave me some inspiration because at the time there wasn't many different clothing lines.
Yeah.
I think we were both working with Alphalete at the time, and I saw you dropped yours. Max had Everford, and I was like, you know what? Like I want to make some. I like the Alphalete. I like what they're doing. But there's some things that I do differently.
Right.
Like clothing's a mirage, though. Because you've been in the business. It's the worst business to be in at the end of the day.
Yeah, like for me, like so. If you guys don't know, I haven't been following for that long. I started a company called Crystal Limited, and I was together with a friend of mine. And it was more like casual clothing, right? It wasn't gym clothing at all. I wanted to create more casual clothing that also fits nice for everybody, also for lifters, you know? And we have some really cool items that I'm super proud of. And I wear those caps like all the time still. But yeah, it was like for me, like first of all, it's a headache with all the sizing and the measurements and the materials and the returns. And there's just so much.
And you can have the perfect, people don't realize, you can have like a sample that fits perfectly.
Right.
You can put it in production to get thousands of them. And then they come and it's like, well, the neck is huge now. Like what happened?
Oh yeah. So a lot of things happen. So in terms of planning, like it's a lot different than having a digital product, right? A digital service. But for me, it just really wasn't like clothing wasn't my passion. I realized that like I really like fashion and I like buying nice clothes.
Yeah.
But I don't like making it. I just stick to the buying.
You learn a lot of lessons with clothing. But even like yesterday, I was going through because we contract a warehouse that receives and fulfills our orders. They're out of Memphis, like central location here in the States. And even yesterday, I was going through doing like a quick audit, and it's like there's just so many little things. It's like, wait, if a package under £1, we should be shipping it this method, which costs us this because we've been charging our customers this. But for the last 6 months, our customers have been paying us this, and then we've been having to pay double that to ship it because they made some change in the back end that I didn't. Random example, but there's always some problem.
It's always some problem, man. But that's what happens in business anyway. The problems get actually like more complex and more complex the more you grow. And in the beginning, you always think, right? You think like in those blog days or when you start YouTube, you're like, once I get this amount of subscribers, then it will all be easier. Once I release this product and I finally finish my course or my coaching website or whatever, then it'll become easier, you know. But no, the problems become more complex and more complex. Or once I hire someone, it'll become easier. But then new problems always come. And so you gotta love to like solve problems, right? I think that's the secret, and that's what you do really well too.
But that's the name of the game. Even with like datings, I do a lot of content on dating.
You do a lot of dating,
and guys are always like, man, once I have a cool girlfriend, then it's going to be easy. And it's like, bro, once you have a girlfriend, it gets actually a lot more complicated.
So you started actually with the videos about dating and picking up girls on the street, right? Those are the ones, those got you viral or?
Yeah, those were the first videos that pop off because there weren't that many guys showing like real interactions on the street at the time. So just putting those up, I think stood out. I think it was like, and they weren't, if you watch them now, especially, it's not like I was smooth, man. And there were some.
You were not smooth or you were smooth?
No, it was not. Okay. I mean, some of them would be.
But see, like, I think like the reason people watch it and they're like making those, like I found it already like very uncomfortable to just vlog myself in public. And like, even for most people, it's a big step out of their comfort zone to just approach girls on the street,
and you
you do it mid-time. You know, you approach them on the street, plus you film the stuff. You know,
and I didn't have a good videographer. It's funny because it either be like Julia or my friend Dave. And
is he like laying in the bushes somewhere? Like,
bro, we didn't have like we had like a 35 millimeter like, or you know what I mean, we weren't filming with like a long lens. So if I was talking to a girl here, he might be like, from me to you, like maybe just like that times like 3 or 4.
Wow.
And he wasn't walking because it would be shaky. So it would literally have to be, we'd have to find like kind of a busy sidewalk. Yeah. He'd be here and I'd have to approach a girl like there. So it became very like stressful.
But like how does that feel, like making a video like that? Like, especially for the first couple times. Like how does that feel, man? Like
it's annoying because you're balancing like, it's not just, and it makes it hard to be smooth with the girls because you're balancing so many things in your head. You're like, wait, and now I approached her, I stopped her, but like now there's a bunch of people there. Like I'm not gonna be able to even use this.
Yeah.
So like your mind's like processing a bunch of things while also trying to talk to the girl. So they're a bit annoying to make, I'll be honest. That's why we stopped, honestly.
Okay, but annoying is one thing. But like, did you ever have a problem with like, you know, like opinions of others or like what do people think when they see me? Or you've never had that? Or when you post, like, well, what are my friends gonna think?
Yeah, I think that was.
Or is it because you started a little bit of a later age that you may have dealt with those like insecurities? Or what do you think?
No. I mean, I think when I first got on, one of the biggest things that stopped me from getting on YouTube, not even doing the approach videos, was just people from my high school or my college, they're going to see the videos.
Yeah.
And they're going to like laugh at me and be like, this guy is a tool. Like David is, what a joke, man. What is this guy doing? So I think that, I mean, it was a factor, but yeah, I don't know. I also just forced myself before that because I was so bad with girls. I forced myself to approach like a lot of girls even before the YouTube days.
Right on, man.
Even though I wasn't maybe great at it, no longer was I like shit in my pants when I was doing it, at least.
So you feel like that like sort of boosted your confidence already, like just talking to girls?
I think that's what got me into like entrepreneurship and stuff.
You think?
Because I was so scared. It didn't come naturally to me. I was the guy at a party who, after this next drink, I'll go talk to her. You know what I mean? Like, and then I would never go talk to her.
Wow.
And I think that getting over that proved to myself that, hey, I didn't think this was possible and I can do this. And then my mind was like, okay, like, so what else could we do?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What age did you start with like, you know, the pickup books and
maybe at the end of college, like my last year, but I didn't actually apply anything till because at college I had like,
how old is someone at college? Is this different in different countries?
Yeah, I graduated when I was 21.
Okay.
So I think probably when I was 22 or 23, I started.
Okay,
like,
cool. Yeah,
let's figure this out. You know, let's figure this out.
Man, okay. And fitness gave you confidence as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got into fitness in college because I wanted to be more attractive to girls. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's why a lot of us start.
Circle. Yeah. Cool, man. Because like, what do you think is like the biggest, because you talk about this a lot on your channel, like are the biggest confidence builders? Is it like doing those things? Like, for example, like talking to girls that makes you feel uncomfortable, or like hitting the gym, you know? What do you think like is the thing that people should start with, or that's the easiest for people to build a little bit of confidence?
I mean, I can throw some examples. I think at the end of the day, it's like you have to ask yourself, like, what is the thing on a day-to-day basis that makes me uncomfortable that like I kind of want to do, but I'm not doing it. Yeah. For a lot of guys, that's probably talking to girls. Right. But for someone else, maybe it's they want to quit their job. Maybe they're good with girls, but they want to quit their job, but they're just like really uncomfortable that they're not going to be able to figure it out. Well, that's probably the step to building more confidence, because I think at the end of the day, confidence is like trusting. It's building this trust. There's a lot of people like, oh, it just means like you think you're awesome and you really like yourself. But I think confidence is like the belief that like when something goes wrong in the future, I know that I can handle it. Like, I think that's what confidence is. More like that you feel competent in your ability to handle like tough situations.
Yeah, that's great, man. I agree with that. You ever do any public speaking?
It's funny because I haven't.
Okay, so that's the thing that frightens me the most.
Well, you've done a lot, yeah?
Yeah, quite some. And I want to do a lot more now even. Because that's always been that thing that frightens me a lot. And I feel like now in my life, there's like nothing else that really, feels like that. But it still does every time I get up on a stage. But like the first time, man.
Do you feel that, because when you talk to a
heart starts racing, but that's probably the same way with girls if you're like insecure in the beginning.
Yeah, no, your body just tight. Your body doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But do you think that like, because when you talk to a YouTube camera right now on a podcast, like we kind of train ourselves to be able to talk a little bit more careful. Because if me and you were just hanging out right now, I'd probably be mumbling a little bit more. I'd be a little quieter. Yeah. Is it easy? Like, I imagine that would help me in public speaking, having trained myself. But is that the case or not?
100%. Yeah. Okay. Because you are already a good speaker, especially you. You're very good at storytelling, and storytelling is obviously the key when it comes to public speaking. Yeah. So you could definitely you could be great at it. I'm 100% sure.
Are you like making eye? I don't think about this that much. You like making eye contact with different people as you're telling this?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's also kind of like, it's scary, man. It's like, we make these, you have like over 1 million subscribers, you like put them all in a room. But when you make videos, you don't think about that, right? You're just like in the moment, looking at the camera, and that's how it's supposed to be, right? You shouldn't be thinking about like the people that are watching. You should be caring about, just being in the moment. Look at the lens. The same thing goes for public speaking, but you need to be in that flow, and it's a real flow state where you're in. But once you start actually looking at those people, and you kind of like realize like, oh fuck, I'm up on this stage. Are they liking it or not? That's when it starts going. That's when you start. Well, you're afraid. So it's like for me, like I'm only afraid before I go up on the stage, because then you see all the people. But once you're there, you got to get into that flow state, and it feels amazing. Yeah. No,
it's something I need to do more. But I guess it's funny because with the YouTube video, like we were filming a video yesterday and we messed up, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. Yeah. You're on the stage. You can't be like, wait, guys, hold on, and you walk back out.
That's
and,
true.
Walk back out.
That's true. So for me, like we were talking about this yesterday. Your YouTube videos, you're very like straight to the point with like your sentences. You don't want the clips to be too long, and it's really cool to see. Like me and my Kira, my videographer, we were talking about this yesterday. It was cool like making these videos with you, and it always is. I told him like, you got to check out how David does this, because you're really like a perfectionist when it comes to the videos. You're also quick, but like you have this own style where something cannot take longer than what you have in your head. And then you really have to make the sentences sort of like perfect, right? Yeah. And like for me, like my video is always like more like, I just like say what I think in that moment. And it's obviously there is a storyline, but not as much as yours. And it's very, very thought out, and you do like takes over and over again to make it perfect. And I respect that, man. It's dope. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, we all have a different style, and I think you can always learn from other styles, but it's also helpful sometimes. Like if you want like a really raw clip where there's like something vulnerable to talk about, that'll be one where I'm not going to like,
that's what I was thinking yesterday.
If it's something that's analytics and there's like numbers, or I need to make sure I hit points 1, 2, and 3, then I'm going to think about it a little more. But if it's like, yo, this is like needs to be a raw emotional moment because that's what it is, then I'm just going to turn the camera on and not think about it. And later in post, if there's like, I repeated this twice, I'll just try and cut it.
Yeah, so I think you would be great at public speaking. So I think you should definitely do it sometime. Yeah. So I'm wondering, David, like you must have had some criticism and hate. You were talking about like how you were also thinking about like what would people in college say, etc., or or just around you, your friends. How did you deal with with those opinions of others? I don't know if you got those from your friends, but then also like online, you obviously get some criticism and hate. Like,
well, the funny thing of how it happens online is that when you're smaller and you're more smaller in terms of your following size, and you're a little bit more raw on camera, you're not as charismatic. I'm not saying you, I'll say for me at least, but I think this is true for most people. And I wasn't as good at making videos. I wasn't as developed as a person. I wasn't getting as many views and comments. People are less likely to hate on you in that moment because they're not seeing you in like, wow, this guy is a lot further along his journey than me. Yeah. They're seeing like, oh, this guy's like, maybe he's even worse than I am right now, or I feel like he's on my level. And that doesn't like trigger people's insecurities. So I think the benefit is that usually when you get started, you don't have to deal with a lot of it. Even if I was making a lot of like videos that were really cringy, like people don't look at it like that because they're like, oh, this guy's just figuring it out. He's like me. But then as you get bigger, as people see that you have more viewers, you're getting more comments, as people see that maybe your body's improved a little bit, your style is improved. Oh, you're making more money now. The car you're driving is nicer. Oh, you're dating an attractive girl now. I think that's when inevitably the hate comments come. And because of that, I don't think they ever bothered me that much. I'm curious about your case. For me,
it was actually like when you're saying this, it was a little bit different.
Okay, tell me then. Yeah,
because like I agree that you get less of them in the beginning, like relatively, but they feel way more painful. That's what I.
Yeah, found. Okay. I'll say with some of the videos approaching girls, I'd get comments early on that like
they feel more painful.
I think these are paid girls that he paid to be in the videos,
right?
And I got those that upset me. I'd be like, bro, like, like watch, like these clearly aren't girls that I like. It would get to me. It would get to me.
It would get to you.
It would get to me.
So that goes away. I feel like later, and then you get a lot more. But then then it doesn't really matter anymore.
But then when it's easier to deal later on, because you're already validated a little in the sense that like, well, I got 30 hate comments, but 100,000 people saw the video, so like it is what it is. But also, I think you start to understand that a lot of them are clearly coming from like a place of, like if someone's hating on your body, that's almost 100% of the time someone who's not happy with their body.
True.
If it's someone who's like hating on your girl, like, oh, your girl's like attractive or she looks fake or whatever it is, like it's probably someone who doesn't have success with girls, and he's because they're trying to like tear you down back to their level, or they see that you're driving a nice car and they're like, stop flexing your car. Well, it's probably because he doesn't have much money, and then like this is their way of. Because people, I think a lot of times, at least because I used to be very insecure. When we're insecure, we want to like equalize everyone else down to our level. Like when I was in college, I'd have friends like me who were basically virgins, not having any success with girls, and then there'd be other guys we knew who were having a lot of success. And what did we do? Well, behind their back, we talk shit. Like that guy is just that girl's gross that he's hooking up with. Like I would never want that. But really, it's me telling myself like, that guy's not better than me because that girl's ugly. You know, we're just trying to, a lot of times we're trying to tell ourselves a story to make us feel like everything's okay in our life.
Yeah, to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
That's so true, man. And I also often, like I've been thinking about this since the beginning, is like when you look at a comment like that, just ask yourself if would I do the same thing to someone else? Like, would you ever place a comment like that, hating on someone?
I don't think
have you ever done that?
Like, I don't think you ever have, man.
I don't ever have. So like I couldn't really.
Well, so it's good. Do you know Ryan Holiday?
Yeah.
So he wrote a few books on stoicism. Like,
I do. Yeah.
Marcus.
Oh, that guy, the Stoic guy.
Yeah. So he had an Instagram reel yesterday that I watched, and he was like, and this is like Marcus Aurelius' way of dealing with
Marcus
haters.
Aurelius, great.
He's like, so what you want to do is you want to put yourself like, so let's say let's not say you. Let's say a guy is leaving a hate comment, right? So it says, well, first you have to analyze that person, like who is that person? And genuinely, a hater is probably someone who's their life isn't going well, right? They're not very happy with themselves. Maybe they're in a dark moment. Maybe they just went through a very tough, like a breakup or something.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're like, well, should that person's opinion matter to me? And the way he frames it is really good. He's like, well, not only is that person's opinion like shouldn't matter to me, like I should probably want the opposite. Like it's almost good that person thinks I'm not doing well, because that life that person's living is like, is so far off the path. So it's almost a compliment that someone who's like really in a bad point in life is hating on you, because it would be different if you came to me and said, hey, David, I think when you did this, like, but you wouldn't be like, bro, you fucking suck. But you might be like, Dave, when you did this, I think it would have made more sense for you to do this. Well, you're someone I respect. And in that moment, I'd be like, okay, this is good feedback.
Yeah.
But with haters, it's almost like, it's positive feedback that they're hating on you. Because if that person was really like liking you, that might be a little concerning. Like, oh man, if this guy's really looking up to me, something's probably off.
Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it, but it's so true. Yeah. And what about your friends, people around you? Did you ever get any, like, hear from that, or weird eyes or anything?
Yeah, first. I remember when I started YouTube, I was living with a couple buddies, and I love them. They're some of my oldest friends. But they'd make comments, and they weren't trying to hate, but it would be like, Like, really, bro? You're gonna quit your job to do YouTube?
Yeah.
Or they'd make they'd watch the video and they'd laugh at something, but it was kind of in like that wasn't supposed to be funny. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like,
I had the same thing. Like, people in my classroom actually like watching my vlogs in the classroom and be like
but they're like belittling you a little bit, right? They're like laughing at you.
I don't know if they were like more like, yeah, I don't really know. Like, I didn't take it too.
Yeah.
But
it's good. It's almost like a test, right? Because like if
I think they were like, I'm thinking now, I think they were laughing because it just was like also like just funny seeing me on the video. Like,
yeah,
like they're like, huh? wait a second, you have a YouTube channel, and then like laughing like at seeing it.
But it's a good initial test. Like if you're trying to start a channel and you're really worried about what people think, it's good to at first have to deal with a little bit of that like criticism.
Yeah, you need to. You cannot skip this part. Like,
no, because you have to be like, that almost weeds out people who aren't serious about it, right? Because people who aren't serious or aren't going to take it far anyway, they're probably like, this is kind of weird, right? Maybe this is awkward. I'm not going to do this. But obviously both of us like heard that and we were like, nah, like I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, so true, man. Yeah, so you read a lot of books on entrepreneurship, right? You read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
Yes, but way back in the day.
Okay, way back in the day. So in the book, I was wondering about what you think about this. He talks about transmuting sexual energy and like using it for like business and success.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, let me make sure I remember this right, because I think I've heard other people talk about this as well. This is more like, rather than releasing your sexual energy, right? So through intercourse with a girl or through like pleasuring yourself.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like completely abstaining.
True.
But it's abstaining to some extent.
To some extent,
because
like, let's say a couple days, or
the idea that it's creating an energy inside of you that when you release it, because after you release that energy, like you feel like, oh.
Well, and there's things like tantra, for example, and those sort of things as well.
I'm curious what you think on it. I don't have any crazy thoughts on it. I mean, I do think that there's obviously like a release of energy, and after you've orgasm, like you tend to just want to chill and like lay down. I don't know that like the next day or hours later it makes a big impact, but I'm curious what you think.
Okay. Well, so I think with masturbation, like if you do that a lot, I think that will definitely have an impact, because I heard you talk about that a lot on your YouTube channel. So I thought,
okay,
what
I
are
can
your
touch
thoughts
on that. Yeah. Well, a lot that I talk about is like the negative effects of pornography, particularly in men who are not
and that's what
sexually
I meant,
active.
like masturbating and then watching pornography. Yeah.
Because if you're not sexually active and you're watching a lot of porn, which I've been there, I've done that, it's going to start to serve as this like this vice that you like lean on. Because if I look back to those days, the times that I was watching porn and masturbating, it wasn't like, oh man, I'm killing it today, things are going well. Yeah, you know what? Let's just like wank one off real quick. Like it's more like by myself, in my room, feeling depressed about being lonely, or having nothing to do and then being like, well, let's just watch some porn, I guess. And it's like in the moments where you should probably use that, like the negative emotions, to be like, no, like let's figure out like what steps I could take here to like improve the situation. It's like, I'm just gonna watch porn and then play some video games, and it's just like, it's not that those things are awful in their own right, but they serve to keep me in that dark place rather than like forcing me to find a way out of it.
Yeah. How did you get out of that though?
For me, it was just, a lot of it was the pain of seeing all my friends for so long have success with girls, whether it was a girlfriend hooking up with girls, and just like year after year after year, and me being too much of a bitch to do anything about it. Eventually, it got to a point, and it was after I graduated where I was like I have to do something about it, and obviously, it can't just be like, well, I'll go out to the club on Saturday and talk to a girl. Like, it needs to be like a U-turn. Like, I need to like forcefully change how I interact with women, or else it's never going to change. So it was more like I had to put myself through the fire and be like, this is going to suck, but trying to ignore this or just get drunk and try to talk to girls here and there, like it hasn't worked for like years. It's never worked for me. So like, I can't keep doing that.
There's the second part to this question, because I was talking about that transmuting sexual energy. I was wondering if you perhaps had any thoughts on it. But then there's the other part of it, and like maybe that's not the right word to say it then. I read the book a long time ago as well. I just wanted to know like what you thought. But then I think the sexual energy part, he also talks about, like having the feminine energy, like having every strong man has a woman by his side. Every man has a strong woman by his side, right? The saying. And it doesn't have to be a man and a woman, but like masculine and feminine energy. What kind of role do you think that plays?
It's a good question. It's a good question because, I mean, there's a lot of guys I know who are very, very successful without like. So we're both friends with Max. His ascension he was single during that time.
True.
His ascension, he was single as he was putting all these building blocks into play.
Yeah.
In my case, like I said, it happened to be kind of funny that me and Julia started hanging out like right as I got into YouTube, and my ascension happened like alongside this relationship. So I don't think it's one or the other. I do think that, I mean, what I always say is like it's better to be single than be in a bad relationship. I do think that if you're in a good relationship, that there's a lot of things to enjoy for it, right? There's a lot of good experience, and you can just share a lot of love and experiences with the person. I know you're in a relationship as well, and it seems like a great one. I haven't met her yet.
Definitely. Next time, 100%.
Next time, yeah. I think that when you're in a good relationship, beyond all like the good parts of it, just because you're with a cool girl, I do think that it can create an extra layer of support that when you have tough times, you have more of a support system than if you were single. And it's different having a feminine support because you always have your boys and you can always complain with your guys and that can be helpful, but it's different when you have a really tough day with the business or something. It's different having a little bit of that feminine energy around to relax into. So I do think that like, and again, I'm using Max as the example. I don't think it's needed, but I think that it's beneficial, assuming you're in a good relationship.
What's different about that energy?
It's something that's you can relax more into it. It'll help you process things more. I think you can have a problem and like complain about it with the pros, and there's a little bit more masculine energy. Maybe you're swearing a little more. You're a little bit more angry about it. Maybe you open up a little bit as well. Something about the feminine energy in the moment, it can make you really feel like everything is going to be okay.
Yeah. Love that. So did you ever go through any like really hard, difficult mental times? You've been working on your physical body a lot. Did you also work on your mental state? And have you ever experienced like rough periods in your life?
Yeah, man, of course. Yeah. I mean, the business goes in ebbs and flows, right? It's like the economy, there's like booms and there's busts. And like whenever you end a period where things are going really well and you enter into one of these darker periods, and it's going to happen cyclically. It's going to keep happening, right? It always happens. Yeah. Some are more challenging than others. And sometimes I think we're also in a better place mentally to deal with the down times and we have better perspective.
Very true. Yeah.
But then sometimes, for me, the hard times is when everything kind of feels like it's going wrong at the same time. Recently, the stock markets have dropped a lot and I've lost a lot. My portfolio has shrunken by.
I saw that YouTube video. I directly was like, this has to be Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it was
another coin, but stocks. Okay.
But also Bitcoin, whatever.
But you lost how much?
So in stocks alone over the past few months, I think I'm down like 200K or something.
Damn.
But that's not talking about crypto. But then it's like at the same time, our last edge drop, I talked about this, but we had some issues with like it got to our house later than like the delivery was confirmed. So we went ahead with the launch, but then it actually wasn't delivered. And then it creates this like, people are placing orders and it's just getting to the warehouse and now we have to delay it. And they happen at the same time as like this stock market crash. Our wedding is coming up with me and Julia and it's all good. I can't wait for that. But there's also some things there, like we're still figuring out the details. So as all these other things going wrong, Julia's like, hey, we have to also get this done and get this done. And I had a few times, I can't deal with this right now. The YouTube views, you know how it goes, man. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Those happen to be going down about the same time. So for me, it's like when the timing, because people say when it rains, it pours, and that's not always true. But when it does pour and everything from every angle feels like it's going wrong, that's when it's like I have some days, not that I seriously consider giving up, but I have some days that I'm in a very dark place that like, it almost feels like, why did I kill myself the last 5 to 10 years to get where I am now, to have to deal with these problems that seem so much more serious than if I was just working a 9 to 5, dating a girl and not having to think about all this other stuff.
True, man.
More money, more problems.
More money, more problems, as B.I.G. used to say. I think that we all go through that as entrepreneurs. As I said in the beginning of this podcast, the problems get actually like more complex. Yeah. And then you also feel like, and this is not like, when you look at it objectively, it's not necessarily true. You feel like if something goes wrong, it goes wrong in a bigger degree. It impacts different things in your business, right? Like different layers, maybe different people. So when you have this bad day, like everything just feels like it's falling apart. Like you cannot, like I cannot solve this, right? And the next day you realize like, or the next week, like things will work itself out. But you gotta trust the process. And very often we lose that trust. And I think we all go through it. Like you hear all the entrepreneurs say it.
What do you do when you're in like a really, really dark moment?
Like meditation is something that has helped me a lot. So that's one of the things that I really do. But I like these days, I will take it like a day off when I notice like, you know, and a day off, it doesn't always help because like actually sitting with your thoughts and like having a day off and not doing anything, but just like your brain will go and think about this stuff. But then you will actually get to process it, right?
Yeah, what's tough for me about taking time off was like this last weekend. I was
and so like sometimes like if there's an actual like acute problem that you know like I need to solve this one, and then you know like the mental stress is going to go away. Then you need to deal with that shit, you know, because if you don't, you're just gonna keep thinking about it until you do it. And then you're putting it off, and that's what a lot of people do as well. Because like you can have bad days, but very often on bad days you got to make it happen anyway, right? But I feel like now I'm at a place where I can really feel like how deep it is, like how bad I feel mentally, right? If I should take some time off, if I just need some actual rest, or if I need to actually face my problems and, you know, solve them right away and you give that a little bit of an extra boost. And then afterwards I can rest, right? But then there's more of a mental rest.
Yeah, what's tough for me about resting is that I like never do it. So when I do it every few months and I take a few days off, I really, really enjoy it. Like if I like this last weekend I was in Mexico, I really didn't work for 3 or 4 days, maybe like a phone call, filmed a couple of clips. But the problem is then I got back to reality. And I also I think I got like a little bit sick. You probably hear my voice. I think I also got like a little bit sick or something. As it happens, I got back to Texas, and this week I just haven't felt like working, you know. And my foot's always in the gas pedal. I feel like when I take it off, then I'm like, let's just keep cruising. Like I don't want to. Let's not really worry about it. So I think I almost fear taking time off because I know. And it's still a good thing to do, but I know that it's going to feel so good that I'm going to then like not want to get back into the swing of things and have to deal with all the responsibilities. And when you take time off, inevitably you come back and everyone on your team is like waiting for you to solve all the 7 or 8 problems that happened while you were gone.
Yeah, man, that's important. But like, what do you do on those days itself? Like the dark days? Just like you asked me, like, what do you do? Do you do any meditation or any practice like that, or write things down? Perhaps that's what I do too. I write down, let's say I have a really difficult decision. I write down pros and cons, things like that, and just kind of like put it on paper. Yeah,
I like to break down. I think there's 2 things I do. One is I will break down like, okay, like what are the actual next steps that I can focus on here and just have them down on paper, because otherwise you start to think 10 steps down the line and it's not going to work and this isn't going to work. It's like, all right, but that doesn't matter yet, right? Like what are the next 2 steps I have to take? So writing that down. And then also something that I remind myself that it's a simple thing, and but whenever I bring my mind back here, let's say I'm filming a YouTube video and it's the worst day of filming. Let's say that a bunch of money got lost in an investment. Let's say that with the Edge, some disaster happened with the launch. I always remind myself like, yo, this is part of being a YouTuber. This is part of being a business owner. Yeah. Like I can't enjoy the good times and not this. Like, and a lot of times that brings a smile to my face. Is like, bro, this is what I signed up for. If I can't deal with this, then I shouldn't be doing this in the first place. A lot of times it'll make me smile and like laugh at myself a little bit and be all right. Yeah, like let's get back to work.
That's good, man. Awesome. So let's get into like your different businesses and actually like list them up and the different things that you do.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the first one would just be YouTube, you could call it.
Yeah, but that's content creation.
Yeah, and you get sponsored content, right? So that generates a decent amount of revenue. That's obviously short-term money. It's not long-term money. As soon as you stop making videos, that money kind of disappears. The second would be Edge, the clothing brand. Third would be Beastly. It's a fitness app I dropped. It's subscription-based. Fourth would be we have a supplement brand that's going to be launching next month. That's been in the works for a long time.
Next month. Oh, nice.
And then fifth would be I have a dating coaching program. It's like a small group coaching program that I run with Julia, my buddy Dave. We run it together. So those would be the 5.
Yeah, I saw her making these dating advice videos on Instagram. Really good. Yeah, it's, they're doing great. That's awesome, man. That's 5 different things, and they're all pretty successful too.
Well, right? Some hasn't started yet. And the coaching one, I'll be honest, I do I'm a coach on the program. I helped create all the course material, and we're actually redoing that now. But my buddy Dave, he runs like the administration of it on a day-to-day basis.
All right. So how many employees do you have for all these businesses?
So, okay.
And freelancers perhaps?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, we have like an advertising agency that handles all of our paid advertising and email for Beastly and for Edge. The supplement brand is going to be in partnership with someone else who saved it. Who owns several other supplement brands. So luckily for that, he's able to leverage a lot of his existing pieces for that. For the coaching business, that probably has, we've 5 coaches. We have 3 or 4 sales guys for that. So that maybe is around eight people.
All right.
And then my direct team is probably 4 or 5 in terms of people that have roles in each of the different businesses.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know what that total number is. Maybe
okay. So it's
15-ish, 20,
okay.
I don't know, plus some agencies.
All right, sweet. Yeah, because I'm wondering how you do it, man. Like 5 different ventures. And I wonder about your thoughts on this. So what I've personally noticed, I started a lot of different businesses as well.
Yep.
And you know that I quit some of them.
Yeah.
Because I realized, like, at least me as a person, I'm not able to focus on that many things at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I get very diluted focus.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person I can get really good at one thing. If I have to do multiple things, even if I just do it a little bit, like a couple hours, it always gets more. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've realized the power of time now as well, and just like the same intention all the time, like having the same ideas and things that I think about. And I don't know, I feel like that works way better for me. What do you think? Like focus on one thing, or focus on multiple businesses? Or is it something that you focus on one first, then when it's great, then you move on to the next one? Or what's your strategy? And why did you start all these businesses?
I mean, it's a pain in the ass having all the different businesses. It is a pain. There's no way around that. There's a lot of stress that it creates. I think on a day-to-day basis, like inevitably, like this week is good. Not this week, like this week, but like, hey, this week and next week, we're really pushing for that next edge drop. All right. Next week, then the week after that, we're really gonna have to push for the supplement launch. Luckily with the fitness app, I have a whole development team that's in Germany that I work with for that. So I'm not really so much like boots on the ground for that. Whereas I'll kind of like monitor and have them like, hey, let's develop this next release. So for a lot of it has turned into like, you're just like chasing people down is what I feel like, because I'm not stitching the clothes, I'm not writing the code. So I think a lot of it is that I have to kind of like circle through each day, like each one, like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the next step is like calling someone for the supplement brand. Like right now we're getting the website made. Like, man, what's the ETA on getting that website done? What's going on with that? And it's just making sure like things aren't falling behind. Yeah. Inevitably though, when you focus on like, we make this big push for the supplement brand, I already know that we're going to be a point with Edge where it's like, okay, we really need to, even though we have the next 3 collections in production and designed and ready to go, I know that by the time I have the time to take a breath of air, it's gonna be like, we really need to get like the next 3 collections designed now, because that's like a 6-month lag, or like even 9-month lag sometimes by the time you start designing it to the time, the final production starts. But I think it's to make it a more simple answer would be to kind of just mentally each day saying, what's the next thing for this? What's the next thing for this? Like, who do I have to call and yell at for this? Who do I have to make sure is doing this?
All right. Yeah, I'm probably not structured enough, and that's why like I would it was so many people that you have to like contact, and I'll be working a lot like in my business and not all my business. You know what I'm saying? And so then it becomes a lot of like hassle and chasing people down, as you say, and it's not something that I personally really like. How is that for you?
Well, it's tough because finding good employees is the hardest thing.
True.
And the worst thing is when you hire someone and 3 months in, you realize he's not the right person for this, or she's not the right person for this role. And because then you're like, we have to literally like find someone else who's good. And it takes usually you have to interview a lot of people before you find someone who's like the right fit. Then we're gonna have to retrain them on everything we train this guy on. And then hopefully we're not in the same spot in 6 months where it's like it also didn't work out. So I think having good, whether it's partners or employees, I think that's the hardest thing. Because once you have someone good in a role that you can rely on, like I know, hey, she's gonna like chase me down for everything she needs. And if she's not getting something, like it's not like I have to like. That's my biggest thing is I don't want to be the last line of, even though I feel like I am. I don't want to be the last line of defense. That, like if it just slipped my mind for a week, then now we're screwed. Even though usually that's still how it is, I think.
Okay.
It ultimately,
so you're looking for someone to help you with that.
But ultimately, I know everything's my responsibility at the end of the day, and that's what gets very mentally draining. Is that like I forgot this for the last 2 weeks, and now everything's behind just because I forgot to make a call 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So like, what is your incentive of like starting the business, all those different businesses instead of, let's say like me, for example, I focus on my shred lifestyle coaching business, but then for, supplements and clothing, I have sponsorships. And so that takes away all that, all that, the hassle of doing all those things. And you just, right. What is your incentive of then starting your own?
That's a good question, man. Well, I think each thing had a set, like clothing was the first one I really got into, right? That was basically the first business. Not that I didn't sell anything or services or products before that, but that was the first
product business.
First like brand, I would say.
Okay,
that
brand,
I
yeah.
And with that, it was that I'd worked with Alphalete. I liked a lot of their clothes. There's other brands who I like to buy their clothes. And in my head, I was like, well, it'd be cool if they dropped this, but they made this change here and it was in this colorway instead. And like I said, clothing's a mirage. It always seems like it's gonna be the coolest thing ever. So if clothing hadn't been the first thing I got into, I don't think I ever would have got into it. But because we have like the supply chain, everything's rolling, I'll stay with it. So for that, it was more like something I was passionate about, I guess.
Okay.
For the fitness app, it was actually because I got sick of this cycle of having to like build new programs out. First those PDFs, then it was like a course website I built. Right. And each time you have to like rebuild the programs from scratch. I was like, well, what if we build this really awesome framework? And that's when I found these developers in Germany who like automatically implements progressive overload. It tracks your weights for every single set, every single exercise. It has a full calorie counter with a full like its own version of like MyFitnessPal built in there. It has like a deep analytics page. Because I was like, if that structure is built, it's going to be less work for me down the road because I can just now drop new programs in there. Or if people say, hey, it'd be cool if it did this, I just talk to them. So that was actually a little bit like reverse in the sense that I think that created less work for me, even though it was a big investment and big like time commitment at first. So that was different for the app, which is probably the best business that I've ever started because it's like straight profit with that other than paying the development team. Yeah. You're not dealing with physical things. With the supplement brand, it's that I was with Transparent Labs for so long and I love their products. They always have really good formulations. Like I take the pre-workout, it hits, I don't crash, it's a good pump. Their protein's clean. It's like 3 or 4 ingredients, not a bunch of crap in there, but they only do natural flavoring. And I'm someone who really wants to be able to like enjoy the taste. And I found myself like sometimes I'd have their protein, but then I'd grab a different brand's protein and make the shake. Or I like we did like a pre-workout collab and I had to like kind of force them like, hey, we have to do this artificially flavored. And they were fighting, and we were gonna do another one. They were like fighting me on it. And that's when I talked to them. I was like, look, I think I'm just gonna do my own thing. Where I feel like I could have changed sponsors, I guess, but at that point,
that's what I'm wondering right now. Like,
I don't know what the answer
explaining is. It's a great sales pitch. Like I get it, and it's also a great idea. But it's like, you could have maybe tried out different sponsors or different products. Maybe they don't have the one that you make. That could be possible. But there has to be some other, or maybe, if that's the incentive, that could be. But there are so many supplements nowadays. Well, I think
after I had like my collab products with them, I like really like the idea of having something that like I brought to market.
Yeah, see, that's cool.
And my sales were so much higher.
Just having that like in your hand, like a physical product.
And when we had the drops with Transparent Labs, where it was like my collab pre-workout, like my sales were so much higher than when I was just pushing like their normal products. So I think from a business perspective, it's like, probably gonna be paying to ask start another brand, but it'll be cool. It's like the cool factor. And also it probably will lead to more revenue down the line.
In the long term, it does.
Even though
not in the short term. Yeah.
No, man, because I haven't made but I've stopped promoting them as a sponsor for the last 12 months. And there's pretty serious money in promoting a supplement sponsor. If you're moving a lot of units and you have a decent commission, like I've kind of forfeit like a big chunk of profit the last year as I've been getting the wheels rolling on this. And I think and the coaching business was more that like I make so much content on helping guys with confidence in dating that it makes sense to have something with like a higher level of support. And because that's not something I was 100% against doing that on my own, I'll be honest. Yeah. Then my buddy Dave came to me and we say, we're gonna do this together as like a joint venture. It made sense because he has the capacity to kind of put it together, guide us, make sure we're taking the next steps. That just made sense. Yeah. So business wise, you have a lot of good offers, like, and also in different industries as well. It's cool to see, man. It's cool to see. And you're able to do it. So you make it happen. No, even though it's a lot of things stressed out all day every day, but still smiling. I'm still smiling. No, it's like it's one of those things we complain about it, but then if yesterday I just quit everything and worked a normal job, I'd be the most bored person in the world. That is very true.
Now I'm wondering, Dave, I've been on TRT and you are on TRT now.
Yeah.
Let's first explain real quick what TRT is for the people that don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain real quick?
I mean, it's a low dose of testosterone. Clinically, it's meant to take people who are in the clinically low range and put them in a range where they have enough free androgens in their body.
For men, yeah.
For men, I mean, there is HRT for women as well. It wouldn't be tests that they're given. But meant to put you in a place, but testosterone plays such an important role, not just in building muscle, but also in mood,
you feel,
and sexual function.
So actually, a lot of guys that and even I think in America or maybe more in the Netherlands even, because it's not really a thing that much. You have to go to private clinics and stuff.
Yeah.
When a guy is depressed, they don't necessarily look at your test levels.
But
then they may just put you on antidepressants, right?
Which is solving like the surface level issue.
Solving the
real
surface level issue,
here.
but not the real issue. And obviously not for everybody, depression has to do with testosterone, but for a lot of men it does.
Yeah.
So what made you like? I decided to do it at some point, and I got off of it.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see that video, go to my YouTube channel. What made you go on it? And you're still on it now, right?
Yeah. So we talked about this in the YouTube video on my channel.
Yeah. So
maybe check that out later. But the cliff notes would be that I was 29. I'm someone who at that point I've been, YouTube was the main thing I was doing. I'm also someone who had been lifting consistently since 21. So this is 8 years down the line. As you know, as anyone know who's been lifting naturally for, let's say, consistently, let's say 3 years, once you get to that point, the gains, they don't stop 100%. You can still make strength gains, but it's tough to look in the mirror and be like, wow, I look way different than I did. Like it starts to remove the fun that you had up front where you're like, I know in 6 months I'm going to be looking so much cooler. So part of me was curious if I get on like low dose of testosterone, supervised by a doctor, because I don't want to be an idiot.
Did you not like first just consider like taking steroids?
No, I never considered that. I was 29. I think I was at least, I'm still an idiot in a lot of ways. I think I was mature enough to be like, I'm not going to risk my health completely. Like this seems to be like a middle ground where maybe I can do it in a safe way. And if I get on low dose testosterone, maybe that will allow me to start making gains again. At the same time, as I got into my late 20s, I got my levels tested. They weren't super low. They were lower than the average for someone who's 29.
Oh, they weren't actually like clinically low? Like
they weren't. No, but that's a whole other story. I went to a local clinic, and the local clinics here are not very really? Professional, let's say, in how they do things. So I wasn't clinically low, but I was close to that border.
How was your mood like?
Well, my mood was okay. My sexual function was okay. But I felt like as soon as I hit like 27, 28, 29, this was also when things were picking up with YouTube. I was starting Edge at the time. I was starting to get like very fatigued on a day-to-day basis, even if I was sleeping enough. And then seeing my levels not being as high as I would have liked them to be, I was like, well, maybe if I get this corrected, my energy levels will be higher. I'll be able to operate at a higher level on a day-to-day basis.
I actually thought about that too. And that idea also came from, I feel like TRT used to be, obviously a thing in the fitness industry, but then also in the entrepreneurship industry.
Oh, a lot of
like guys are on TRT and they don't even like look like they really like lift. They do it for the benefits in terms of energy and all those things. Now I have to give it like a disclaimer there, or like the way it was for me, because I thought that too. And then indeed, like I could work more hours again. I did have like the very least amount of testosterone, so it was very low.
Yeah.
But I was also constantly like dieting down and shredding.
And that can kill those levels.
Because when I actually quit TRT and I started eating healthier and getting proper sleep, like my levels naturally now are higher than before TRT, right? So that's pretty crazy.
What are your levels now?
So for me, let me say after. I don't know exactly now, like, because it's different.
It changes every day,
it's like,
man.
Now it's different in the Netherlands than in the US. Yeah, but I shared on the video exactly. Okay. And I haven't tested them now for quite a while, so I'm going to do that again soon.
You feel good, though.
I'm feeling great, yeah. So, for me, so it gave me the extra energy. I could sleep less, like 5 hours a night, and I could like grind even harder. But then I got to a period of actual burnout because I worked even harder than before.
Well, it's funny because that can happen physically. It didn't happen to me, but it can happen physically too. I remember when I first started test, and I was still lifting heavy at the time, deadlifting, squatting. I don't really do that much anymore. I don't know. It's like a risk reward type thing. But I was like, wow, I can keep throwing more weight. I can keep throwing more weight on the bar. And I know people have said it's often for people to start androgens their muscles are progressing at this rate, but they're like your ligaments and your tendons aren't progressing, and people have some serious injuries, not energy, energy as well, but also injuries.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the mental aspect of that happened, where you felt like you had this big workload, this big capacity.
Yeah.
But like emotionally, maybe your body, you weren't keeping up with it.
True, man. All right, so you decided to go for it, and so the main reason was, to make more gains because you really stalled at some point. Did it live up to that expectation? And
I mean, at first,
was it worth it?
At first, and I'm sure you experienced this. It's like newbie gains all over again. It almost feels like you're hitting the gym for the first few times. You walk in, you feel like you do a whole session, and you have more energy to go.
Yeah,
you're especially like your shoulders and your traps. It's like, so I always say it's like someone, you pump up like a basketball or soccer ball. Right. It's almost like someone put like a needle here and it's like pumped it like 10 times. You're just like, and now I'm on TRT. Yeah, and it was great. But I think honestly, after 3 or 4 months, it completely plateaued out. And I think likely for someone like you and me who had been lifting with somewhat optimized diet and training for 7, 8 years, and then you add a new level of testosterone on, like you're gonna, the same way you max out newbie gains when you start the gym, you're gonna like kind of quickly get 80% of those gains. Obviously, and then you're back in the same spot where yes, your physique's better and you're stronger, but unless you want to increase the dose, throw some other compounds in there, run a cycle, throw some growth hormone in there. Unless you want to start playing with other factors, it's like, I was up to here, and then now I'm here, and it's just like it's the same
essentially
spot.
The same thing happens, and I feel like mentally you also get used to the new gains, so it feels sort of like the same as it did before you started.
Well, you look in the mirror
because you look in the mirror and you look at yourself in the same way.
Yeah, it's still like, oh, that's how I looked 3 months ago.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. What are your thoughts now? And how long you been doing it? So.
3 years.
Okay.
Maybe like next month will be 3 years, but basically 3 years.
Okay.
I still feel, so I started at 200 milligrams and I've gone down to 100 milligrams or 105. So a much lower dose. My total test is still in a great spot. And again, it's one of those things that I'm not sure. I haven't seen a clear explanation. I haven't even seen anecdotally other people talk about this, but I don't know. It's that like the amount in my body, like it's like if I was pouring out this cup and like the coffee was like dripping out, but I was like pouring coffee in faster. I don't know if it's that like it was just accumulating in my body, or if it's that my body got like more efficient at uptaking the testosterone at a lower dose, because my levels still aren't much. They're lower than they were at 200, but not by like, they're not half what they were.
Yeah.
Oh, so but to answer your question, I feel good. I feel like I'm in a spot now where like just for a while when my levels were a bit higher, I had like high blood pressure, my chest was tight, I wasn't sleeping well.
Yeah.
I think my levels are in a pretty optimal point where they're definitely elevated above if I was fully natty. So I still am enjoying maybe a boosted energy, boosted mood.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm making, I feel like I've made more gains since I was pure natty. I don't feel like I'm making any more gains in the gym at this point. And I don't have like a super impressive physique anyway. I'm fine saying that, but I just feel like I'm 33 in a couple months. And if I was to get off, like likely I'd probably start again in, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. So what's the point of like dealing with like rebooting all my levels, getting back to natty just to like maybe pump out a couple kids and then go right back on to doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what we talked about yesterday as well. So that's tough because like I'm at an age now at 27, so I quit TRT when I was like 20. I got way so way too early, So like big mistake, but like I was in 25 then. So at 27, and I'll probably start again someday as well when I get like
late 30s or something.
When I'm an older male and like I like my testosterone starts dropping a lot.
Yeah.
Because I want to keep having that energy, sex drive. I want to live a good life, but also in a healthy way, obviously. So, will it happen at the end of my 30s? I don't know. For some people, it happens in their 40s. Like I think it kind of depends. Depends on the lifestyle. Levels. But looking at how much work we move, like. It goes a little bit quicker down, I think.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because when we have both made videos on TRT that got covered by Greg, Derek, then what's his name? Scott Herman came in and he presented this new argument that what we were doing was irresponsible because we were almost like normalizing the use of testosterone to a younger audience. Whereas I think my perspective, and from what your videos, I think you have a similar perspective, is that it's more just about being fully transparent so that people didn't see our physique level up 8 years into lifting and believe this false narrative that like I can get there naturally. And it would be easy to justify it on TRT because some people I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who do justify it, thinking that, well, I'm not running cycles, so I'm not going to say that I'm on steroids, because if I say I'm doing TRT, and then people are going to expect me to look like a monster, but really I'm doing a small dose. But what do you think about that? Like, what did you have to? Having seen those videos, did you ever think in your head, wait, maybe being honest about this was irresponsible?
No, I don't think so. No. It was irresponsible doing it. Like that would be something.
But you were honest about that.
Like being honest about it is not irresponsible. As long as you highlight, I feel like all the points in the video. So not just like, I'm on it and this is it. Like I actually told people exactly why and why they like, like the reason also, like we work in the fitness industry. We make a lot of money doing this. We have different incentives than an average person. If I was an average gym goer, I would never do it. And I also said that in the video, right?
Well, it's tough for me because I meet guys in the gym very often who I think, because I've talked about this, they're more comfortable opening up to me about what they're running. And I meet guys very often who are mid 20s, maybe low 20s. They're in their 20s though, and they're doing 400, 500 megs of tests a week. They're not even getting blood work done. They're telling me how their body temperature's through the roof. They can't sleep. And that's when I get really worried. Not that we have any responsibility for that, but in those moments, I'm like, bro, you have to get blood work done. Like, you at least take your blood pressure. Like, there's a lot of people who kind of, especially in today's fitness industry, where like it's basically accepted now when you go through Instagram, though there's every dude's running a lot. The young dudes are running a lot. Yeah.
So see, I feel like it is things are normalized a little bit in that way, and I talk about this on a different podcast this week on Legacy Loading. So there are guys who talk about the steroids as if they're a very normal thing to do. Like they really talk about it in the videos, like just taking another shot of this, or injecting myself with this now and then go to the gym. I mean, that in my opinion is like, without actually telling like all the health risks in that same video. Because then,
well, I always try to mention every time, like,
exactly. So that's what I've done every single video, and so I feel good about the way that I've been honest about it and transparent. And there's a lot of people hating on me still. I've gotten a lot during that time, but that's okay. I just did what I thought was best, and I still believe that was the best way to do it. I could have said nothing. I could have done that. Yeah, like there was no, like, I didn't have to say to people that I was on TRT. I didn't have to say it, but I didn't want to be one of those guys.
Well, it's funny because I've seen as many comments as I've seen from people that, and a lot of times it's actually older men who are like, well, I actually started TRT after seeing your videos. I've also seen an equal number of comments from guys who are maybe a bit younger who are saying, after seeing your videos, I decided I'm not going to touch anything.
That's the same thing for me. Yeah. Now, when I quit also, I also got a lot of people that were on it, have been on it for a long time, that were like thinking about it, but like, I'll send them to the doctor because I don't want to give advice on those things.
Well, that's always my advice at the end of the day. Is like, hey, if you're considering this, the least you can do is go get blood work done and just get a very honest picture of where everything's at. Because now if you make a decision, at least I didn't have a full lab panel done before I started. This is how irresponsible the clinic I went to, the local clinic I went to here, they tested total testosterone and nothing else. Only total testosterone.
What?
And then I started TRT. So now I have no idea what my estrogen, my SHBG, my free test, my cholesterol. I don't know what any of my health markers were before I started TRT. And that's a huge mistake that I made. And I didn't know any better at the time. I went to the doctor, man. I didn't know.
Wow. Well, that's why you got to do your own research. But I feel like in America is so different, man, than in different countries.
Here, everything's a little more. Especially in Texas, man.
It's just also commercialized, they just want to make money, right? Like,
well,
that's what it's about. Like,
you go to a men's clinic, they're all over the states. You go to a men's clinic, you can basically walk in and get and have tests injected into your butt. You can basically just walk in.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. Since how many years has it been like that? Is that the last couple of years, or was it always like that?
I imagine that there's more of them in the last few years because there's a lot more content about it. Some people are more interested in it, but I bet you that's been for a decent amount of time available.
Yeah, so like, one of the things that helped me, like also after quitting TRT, I kept training, but I realized that I didn't find training as fun anymore. That was my actual issue. So I thought that TRT would help me, and I did for a while, getting bigger and stuff. And I was like, I can also get satisfaction from training in a different way. So now I do some calisthenics. I'm trying to learn can you do a handstand? Like, I think you can, huh? Handstand. Oh, I thought, sorry. I want to do like the handstand push-up and shit, like those kind of cool movements. And some functional training, and did some boxing recently, just some different things. Yeah, well, have you tried that out as well? Like,
well, I recently learned how to do a backflip. If anyone's seen my videos, cool. Now I spam backflips.
You try to do that, or can you?
I can.
Oh, I've seen you on many edits.
Yeah.
I want to learn that one.
Yeah, no, but that's like a different way to challenge yourself.
True.
I've never stayed consistent with it. It's because
Okay.
It is what it is. But like I've MMA or Muay Thai more specifically, I've trained for like a couple years on, stopped, a couple years on, and it's very fun with these different skills. It can bring that satisfaction back, I think, right? Because you're now learning a new skill you don't know, and you can see the physical progress rather than just like how
big you
are
are.
my biceps right now. Yeah.
So do you have any goals like that or not yet?
No, man, I guess that's the downside of having the 5 businesses is that like
right, because it's like steady and you're used to it and you're in this routine, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed it takes a lot of energy to try something new, but then I also want to keep doing the current thing because I still like have a business that is about lifting, right? So it's
I still lift consistently,
and I want to keep my gains, right? I don't want to lose those. It's like
it's not as fun as it was though. Eventually, maybe it take me 8 or 9 or 10 years, but lifting is not as fun as it once was. Not that I don't enjoy doing it. It's still a key part of my day. But I used to, from the moment I finished a workout, I used to just be thinking about I can't wait till I get back in the gym. And now it's more like I might have to skip the gym today. It's a busy day. You know what I mean? It's different.
Right. True. It's different, man. And so how is life in terms of housing? Because I remember like was it a half year or maybe a year ago or a little bit, you guys moved from Austin to Houston.
Yep.
You and your fiance, wife, fiance, married.
Yeah.
Okay, so moved from Austin to Houston, bought a house here.
We built one here. Actually,
you built a house, but then you sold it like 6 months later and went back to Austin, right?
Yep.
Wow. Why?
Well, it was right when the pandemic had started and we were downtown Austin. And at first the restrictions were pretty tight. Being downtown felt kind of like useless. We have a lot of friends here in the Sugarland area in Houston and housing. And this was before housing, like this is when it dipped like at the beginning.
Okay.
So housing was really cheap for a minute. So we got in, built that, sold that, made like $130K or something off of that house. And then went back to Austin and we bought some land in Austin that we now have a permit for that we're starting building there. And now,
but like why? Like what was the reason why you decided to leave here again?
Well, we got to Houston and
did it not live up to the expectation or what?
Basically, I like Houston and I still think it's a great place to live. And you have like Alpha Land, or back then it wasn't open yet. You had Alpha Elite, we had half open, whatever. When there's construction became worked out here, right? But in Alpha Land, and it's this really community of influencers and this amazing gym. But we noticed that like, aside from going to the gym here, like we didn't have much of a life. There's not that much going on.
Every time I'm here, like I've only been like my parents always ask me like, did you see the NASA, right? Like or like Houston, we have a problem, right? There's somewhere around here. It has to be somewhere here.
Somewhere,
It's a big place. So I don't know how far it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to go to, but like we never have. I'm in the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm at Alpha Land.
Yeah.
And maybe Christian's house. I haven't seen anything else.
Well, I think,
but it's such a good time. But I mean,
but living here full time is a bit different.
So for me, it's like being here for a week or a month, and it feels like this amazing experience. But I could imagine when you live here, it's a little bit different.
After a few months,
some scenery and some different.
And it's very humid here. It's not just hot, but it's humid. Austin's like it's not humid, so it's drier. Right. Austin, the downtown area is like super lively and happening, and we felt like we had a more exciting life there. And we're like, you know what? I mean, look, we're here right now. We're gonna be here back again in a couple of weeks. Like we realized like we'd rather live in Austin where we think aside from the gym, our quality of life's better. Yeah. And then every couple of weeks come here for like a weekend trip.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big commitment to just say because you just bought something. It will be easy to say like like we bought it, so we're gonna stay here for longer. You know what I mean? Because I mean, after 6 months, like how are you like what kind of mindset you guys have in that like?
The problem with me and Julia is that we're both very impulsive.
Well, yeah, it can be a problem. It can also be like...
It can be a great thing. With business, it's very helpful, right? Right. It's very helpful to be
not always. Like, I've lost money by doing that, like, sometimes.
Oh, I've definitely lost money.
And, like, work with the wrong people and shit, like...
But I think overall, it's
great.
Because it means you can be very flexible.
For life experience, I think it's been amazing. And for,
But for when you get locked into, like, mortgages or, like, buying houses, and luckily the timing worked okay with the market. The market now is not looking so good, but... It's added some excitement, but it's also added some stress to our life because it's like the joke on my channel is that like every week we're moving somewhere new.
Now, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice before you became an entrepreneur, what would it be? Maybe one for business and one for mindset, actually. Do both.
Yeah, I would say the main one would just be like that I should have started earlier because it's tough to like, because every decision I've made has kind of like got me to where I am. So if I changed anything, like it might not have ended up this way. So I think the one would be that like when I was contemplating even earlier, like I should probably figure out how to talk to girls. Like I should have just faced that fear head on like years earlier, because then maybe now I'd be years further than I am, because that was kind of like the stepping stone to getting into entrepreneurship for me. In terms of actual like piece of advice to give myself, I mean, with a business, I think that it's a lot of it I was so afraid of spending money for a long time. And I think being frugal at first is very important, but like strategically spending money, whether it's to hire people, to buy a new piece of equipment, not only can it make things a lot more efficient, but it's like when I first bought that camera for YouTube, a lot of times when you feel like you have a lot on the line, you think you're at capacity, but all of a sudden you make a big investment and you're like, I got another 50% capacity in me to do even more. Sure. So not being as afraid of losing money and spending money would be one. And for mindset, it would be just, you're a lot more capable of handling different situations than you could ever imagine. I think all of us underestimate what we're truly capable of physically and mentally and emotionally. We think a lot of things like, if that happens, my life would, if this girl broke up with me, I'd be destroyed. If this business venture failed, if this investment happened with this, I'd be destroyed. I'd be done. And we're a lot tougher than we think we are. So like that should be motivation to put yourself into higher pressure situations and to do that thing that you've been afraid of doing, because even if you fall on your face, you'll be surprised, bro. If anything, you're going to learn a crazy lesson out of it, that now the next time you try something, it's going to be that much more successful.
Right on, man. I've never like learned a proper lesson without actually like a big lesson without failing somehow. And I don't see it as failing, but like without actually trying something. So you can read all the books you want, you can listen to all the podcasts you want, but if you don't take that actual action and you want to have all the steps perfectly, it's just like you're going to be overthinking things, right? Yeah. It's just like with girls, like approaching them. If you try to do it through this script, right? But then when you're talking, there's like no actual feeling of you being in a moment, but it's just you like reading up a script that is not going to work, right? Yeah. And it's the same things with all of that. So
pain is the biggest teacher. That's a quote I like, is that pain is the biggest teacher, because you can know the right thing to do. Someone could have told you it. You could have read it. Yeah. You could even realize it in the situation. But a lot of times you're not going to do the right thing. You're going to do whatever you feel like, because we're so stubborn, and we're going to do the wrong thing a lot. And the only time we learn is when we experience pain. So maybe it's a business thing. Maybe it's a common one's like, you meet a new girl, you're really obsessed with her, and like she's clearly like a little bit not that interested. And then what do? You start like texting her more, you start to hang out more. Hey, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And then she's gone. She's like, all right, now I'm out. You got to learn in those moments. If you're a guy, like, oh, okay, maybe she needs a little space. You like, don't talk to her for a week or so. Let her have some space. But you don't learn that until you've made the mistake and you've lost 3 or 4 girls.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even try, man. They just assume that. I also think a lot of entrepreneurs just got lucky, or the guy with the beautiful girl, he just got lucky. And in some cases, true. But in most cases, at least as far as the most amount of entrepreneurs that I've met, they've worked freaking hard to get there, and they haven't been afraid to actually try things and fail at them, right? Instead of just sitting on the sidelines, just waiting for something to happen.
It just seems
it's not going to happen out of nowhere.
I don't even know if I thought like, hey, that guy was lucky. I just think that like, I was like, I'm here and he's like 18 floors up.
But that will always be there. It doesn't matter where you are, right? The journey where you are now, where I am now.
There's still people another 18 floors up.
Yeah, like I used to dream of this lifestyle I'm living now, even like a lower lifestyle. Like I've already surpassed what I was dreaming about when I was 19, right? Yeah. And now I'm here, and then you start looking up to these other guys and like look at what Christian has done here with Alpha Land. And in terms of physique, I'm here, and I felt big when I was at home, but then I came here and I'm like, all these guys are way bigger than I am, And so there's always someone to compare yourself to in life, in business, with your physique, with your mental state, with everything. But then you don't take into account all these different factors, right? So you just got to focus on your own progress and never compare yourself to other people,
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
Once you start to see a little progress, I think it becomes the only way to internalize that belief is to actually start making progress. True. Because once you actually start making progress, it becomes addicting, and you naturally start to like fall in love with just the small progress. But it's hard to do it. It's like you said, you can you can read a book, you can hear us say it, but like until you do it for yourself, you can't really believe it.
Right on, man. It's been an awesome conversation, man. So I want to finish this off with something we do in the podcast, which is the final 5. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to have 2 different answers.
2 different answers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never eat breakfast tacos again, or never hit the gym again.
I'd have to give up the breakfast tacos, man, because I can't just, that'd be tough though. I don't want to do that.
Always be 20 minutes late for important events, or always be 2 hours early to everything else. I think you've already answered this by showing up at this podcast too late.
Yeah, that's a big, it's not something I'm proud of, but I tend to be late.
Yeah? Is it?
I just get I'm too present with what I'm doing that I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be there in 5 minutes and I'm 30 minutes away.
Yeah. Never being able to use machines or free weights again.
Oh man,
I think this is a tough one, bro. Like,
if I was at a gym like Alpha Land or like Paddle Club in Marbella that has like top of the line machines, then I'll give up the free weights. But if you're at a kind of crappy gym, you
like
got to use the free
gym.
weight. You don't have a choice. So if I had to say one or the other, I guess I'd have to give up machines because free weights are always there. If I give up machines, some days you might just not be able to work out.
Very true. Very true. Forget your favorite books so you can reread them again for the first time, or forget your favorite movies so you can rewatch them for the first time.
Well, I never remember movies. I have like,
really?
It's funny. I feel like I'm very capable in a lot of ways, but if I don't remember, if I'm watching a movie with you, man,
you're just thinking about business.
No, I'm watching it, but you're gonna have to like be whoever I'm watching it with. I'm like, wait, how does he know her? Wait, when did that happen? I'm just like, I have very trouble following movies, so
really?
I already forget them.
That's kind of funny because you're so good at storytelling. You would assume that you like.
I can't follow movies, so I guess I'll forget the books because I already forget the movies anyway.
Only be able to wash your hair twice a year, or only be able to check your phone once a day.
Oh man. I mean, I guess the phone, I can check that one. It's tough with the business, man. I might have to do the hair because I think businesses might fail if I could just never keep up with. Well, I can check my laptop, I guess.
Would you still have a business if you had shitty hair? I'm just kidding.
I won't check the phone. Check phone once a day, but I'm gonna bring my laptop around me and be connected to Wi-Fi a lot.
Yeah, I would probably still wash my hair, but then I would hire someone to do all the phone stuff.
Oh, there you go. You can have someone next to you checking the phone.
Nobody messing with his hair, man.
Yeah, you got man, that hair is, I've always been jealous of it.
Anyway, bro, man, it was a really good chat today. I really enjoyed it, and we're gonna have a couple of good times here at Alpha Land. We're currently in Houston, Texas. Good to see you again, man.
Thanks for having me on the podcast, bro.
See y'all in the next one.
Looking back again, I can get it, I can make it, yeah, I know it, and I'm never looking back again. Yeah, I'm never looking back again.